longer hours for lower wages, while single moms are trying to figure out how they can bring in enough income, how they can afford childcare for their children. Almost all of the new income and wealth created in America today is going to the top 1%. And what this campaign is about, saying loudly and clearly, enough is enough.
Yes.
This great country of ours and our government have got to represent all of the people and not just a handful of billionaires. Before I get into the thrust of my remarks, I want to say a few words about our campaign, which is a very different type of campaign than other candidates, Republicans or Democrats, are running. When I began this campaign about 8 months ago, it's fair to say that we were at about 3% in the polls. It's fair to say that we had no political organization, we had no money, and much of the media considered our campaign a fringe candidacy. Bernie Sanders, he combs his hair very nicely. Well-dressed candidate, but you know, not really going to go very far in this campaign. And then some of the experts said something which is, I think, has a lot of truth to it. They said, look, if you are going to run a national campaign in today's world, you need to raise tens and tens of millions of dollars. That's the reality if you're going to run a serious campaign. And the only way, they said, that you can raise that money is to have a super PAC and go to the millionaires and billionaires and beg for money. But that's what they said. It's the only way. What they said is the way modern politics is run, and it's true. In most cases, this is the way politics is run. People don't do meetings like this. What they do is spend their lives going to mansions owned by millionaires, sitting down with very, very wealthy people, leaving the house with a few $1 million, then putting ads on TV. That's called a modern campaign. But we decided to do something very different. I do not represent the interests of the billionaire class or corporate America.
Yes!
I do not want their money.
Woo!
And we decided to do it a very different way. And we said to the working families of this country, to the middle class, we need a political revolution in this country, and you're going to have to help us make that happen. You know what happened? This is what happened, and this is really amazing and something I would not have dreamed that I would be able to tell you 8 months after we began this campaign. What happened is that over the last 8 months, over 2.3 million individual contributions have come into our campaign.
Yes.
2.3 million from close to 1 million people. That is more individual contributions than any campaign in the history of the United States.
Yes!
So what we have shown the pundits is, yes, you know what? You can run a winning campaign without begging billionaires for money. We're very proud that we have some hundreds of thousands of volunteers, including many thousands here in Nevada, and I want to thank, we have great volunteer base here in Nevada. Let me personally thank all of you who are helping out in the campaign. What this campaign is about is understanding some very important points that are not often seen on TV or discussed in the media. And that is that right now, no president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, will be able to transform our country to do the things that the middle class and working families of this country need, unless we have a political revolution, unless millions of people get involved in the political process in a way that we have never seen before.
Yes!
And the reason for that is that Wall Street and corporate America and the Koch brothers and Sheldon Adelson and all of these really wealthy guys, they are so powerful in controlling the economic and political life of this country that we cannot defeat them unless millions of people stand together. And that's
Yes!
There are people out there, Donald Trump and others, who are attempting to do what demagogues have always done. And that is, instead of bringing people together to address and solve the real problems that we face, what they try to do is tap the anger and the frustration that people are feeling and then divide us up.
Yes!
So we have a message to Trump and all the others out there who want to divide us up. No, we're not going to hate Latinos. We're not going to hate Muslims. We're going to stand.
Yes!
To stand together and in fact address and solve the real issues facing this country.
Yes!
And when we talk about the real issues, I have to also caution you in this respect. Too often people turn on the TV or they see the front page of the paper and they say, well, that's the issue. It was on the front page of the paper. It was on TV. What I hope you appreciate is that the only people who can determine what the real issues are you.
Yes!
It's not what some producer believes. And to a to a significant degree, for obvious reasons, corporate media chooses not to focus on the real issues impacting working people.
Yes!
But what we are doing in this campaign, and the reason I think we are seeing so much success, so many large crowds, we have now spoken in this campaign to over 400,000 people who've come out to our rallies.
Yes!
And the reason for that is that people want to be treated as intelligent human beings.
Yes!
We want to hear a real discussion of real issues and how we can go forward in transforming our country.
Yes!
So when I talk about the real issues facing America, it's not necessarily what you're going to see on TV tomorrow, but here is one of the issues at the top of my list. And that is the United States today has more income and wealth inequality than in any time since 1928, and it is worse here than in almost any major country on earth. I
Yep.
want you to hear this. You ain't gonna see it on TV, so you may as well hear it here. The top 0.1% in America today now own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%.
No.
Not the top 1%, the top 0.1%.
Man.
Today in America, the 20 wealthiest people, not a lot of people, own more wealth than the bottom half of the American people.
Whoa.
Today in America, one family, the Walton family of Walmart, owns more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. Now, in Nevada, in Vermont, and all over this country, in order to make a living, in order to bring in enough money or get some health insurance, people are working incredibly long hours. I don't know how many of you know this, but we in the United States work the longest hours of any people in the industrialized world. Japanese are very hard-working people. We work now longer hours than the Japanese. And yet, despite the sweat and the toil and the stress that millions of families are living under because they're working so hard, husbands don't see wives, mothers don't see their kids because everybody is out working. At the end of the day, 58% of all new income generated in America today is going to the top 1%. Bottom line is, we have an economy that is rigged.
Yes.
The rich get much richer, corporations enjoy record-breaking profits, and the middle class continues to disappear. So what we have got to do together is to create an economy that works for working families, not just billionaires.
Yes.
And when we talk about our economy, it's not just the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality. Here's something else you may not have seen in the papers. Once a month, the federal government publishes an unemployment report. Official unemployment nationally is about 5%. But there's another report, doesn't get a lot of attention. And that includes people who have given up looking for work and people who are working part-time when they want to work full-time. That number is close to 10%.
Yep.
And here's something else that is never discussed. A couple of months ago, I asked some economists to do a study for me. And I asked them to tell me what real youth unemployment was in this country for young people who graduated high school, didn't drop out, graduated high school. This is what they reported back. For white kids between 17 and 20, real unemployment and underemployment was 33%. For Latino kids, 36%. For African American kids, 51%. Now, if there's anybody in this room who does not see a connection between this outrageously high rate of youth unemployment and the fact that shamefully we have more people in jail than any other country on earth, if you don't see that connection, you are missing a significant point.
Yes.
So let me tell you what I think. Tell you what I think we have got to do. And that is, we have got to invest in jobs and education for our young people, not more jails and incarceration.
Yes.
So here is my first promise to you. I don't make many promises. Here's one I want to make to you tonight. That after my first term as president, we will end the disgrace of having more people in jail than any other country on earth. We are going to put our kids into decent jobs and back into school, not into jails. By the way, we are going to reform a very broken criminal justice system. Together, we are going to end institutional racism in this country. Together, we are going to bring about real police department reform in this country. I was a mayor of the largest city in Vermont for 8 years, and I worked closely with the police department, and in my view, vast majority of police officers in this country are honest and they work hard at a very difficult job. But when a police officer, like any other public official, breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable.
Yes.
We need to make police departments look like the diversity of the communities they are serving.
Yes.
We need to demilitarize police departments. They don't look like. We need to take a very hard look at the so-called war on drugs, which has ruined many lives in this country. Right now, at the Federal Controlled Substance Act, marijuana is treated the same way as heroin. Now we can argue, and there's a lot of debate about the pluses and minuses of marijuana, but no sensible person thinks that marijuana is equivalent to heroin. And that is why I have introduced legislation to take marijuana out of the federal controlled substance. And the reason I have introduced that legislation is, honestly, not to encourage anybody to smoke marijuana. You're laughing, but that's the truth. I smoked marijuana twice, and all I did was cough my guts out. But I do understand other people have had different experiences. But here's the point, and this is the serious point. Over the last many decades, millions of people have been arrested for possessing marijuana. Most of those people do not go to jail, but all of them get a police record. And if you have a police record and you go out and you try to get a job, it becomes more difficult. And the racial component of this is, it turns out that the black community and the white community do marijuana at about equal levels. But blacks are 4 times more likely to be arrested than whites. So there is a lot to be done in reforming a very broken criminal justice system. Our job is to provide opportunities for people so they don't get arrested. What we have got to do is make sure that people who are arrested for non-violent crimes do not spend time in jail. We have got to make sure that people who are arrested, who are in jail, when they are released, have the education and the jobs and the opportunity to make it a civil society. So there's a a lot of work that has to be done. I just wanted to give you some of the issues and aspects of the criminal justice reform that I think needs to happen. Now, when you talk about what goes on in America, there's one simple fact that is so obvious, everybody knows about it, but we don't talk about it. And that is the reason that people are working incredibly long hours is that wages in this country are too damn low. Minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage.
Yeah.
We have got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour over the next few years. And when we talk about fair wages, I hope that every man in this room will stand with the women and fight for pay equity for women. There is no rational economic reason why women are making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. That's just old-fashioned sexism, and we are going to change it. In Nevada, you're going to see a lot of politicians running through your state because your state plays a very important role in the primary and caucus process. And you're going to hear a lot of Republicans talking about family values. They just love families. But you all know what they mean by family values. And what they mean is that no woman in Nevada or in America should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. What they mean by family values is the federal government should defund Planned Parenthood. By family values is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to marry. I disagree. I have been married 27 years. I've got 4 great kids and 7 beautiful grandchildren. And my wife and I believe very much in strengthening family life in America. But when I talk about family values, what I talk about is ending the international disgrace of the United States being the only major country on earth that does not guarantee paid family and medical leave. It is not a family value, and I want you to think about this. That when a working class or low income woman has a baby today, she will be forced to separate herself from her baby after a week or 2 weeks because she has to go back to work to earn enough money to take care of her family. That is not a family value, that is the opposite of a family value, and that's why, together, we are going to establish 3 months of paid family leave. There is enormous economic anxiety out there. People are so worried about whether they'll have their job tomorrow or whether they'll be able to find a job. Real unemployment, close to 10%, youth unemployment, a lot higher than that. And that is why we need to create millions of decent paying jobs. What we need to do is instead of firing teachers, we should be hiring teachers.
Yes.
We need to hire hundreds of thousands of people to go into child care to provide our little kids with the best pre-K education. And when our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, water systems, wastewater plants, airports, rail are deteriorating, we can create 13 million good-paying jobs through $1 trillion investment, and I intend to do just that. And it is not only a question of creating millions of decent paying jobs, it is also a question of preventing the loss of millions of decent paying jobs through disastrous trade policies.
Yes.
Right now, we have a set of trade policies, NAFTA, CAFTA, PNTR with China, proposed TPP. All of these trade policies were written by corporate America in order for them to get the cheapest labor possible on this planet. So our message to corporate America, the time is finished when you're going to shut down plants in America and move to China. You're going to reinvest in this country. And when we talk about the economy, there is an elephant in the room that must be discussed and must be dissected. And that is that the greed and recklessness and illegal behavior of Wall Street has done incalculable harm to the people of Nevada and to the people of America.
Yes.
You know, I find it interesting and very telling about the nature of American society and our criminal justice system that you have young people who are caught possessing marijuana, they get a police record. And yet the CEOs of Wall Street firms who have destroyed the lives of millions of people get away scot-free. So not only do we have a situation where we have banks that are quote-unquote too big to fail, we have bankers who are too big to jail. We're going to change that.
Yes.
Here is you ready for a really radical idea? And that is, even if you are a CEO of a large Wall Street firm, you're going to have to obey the law.
Yes.
The truth is that after we bailed out Wall Street because the banks were too big to fail, 3 out of the 4 largest banks in America are bigger today than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. The largest 6 financial institutions issue 2/3 of the credit cards and 1/3 of the mortgages in this country. When you have a small group of people and financial institutions that have so much economic and political power, the time is now to break them up.
Yes.
When we talk about the major issues facing our country, there is one issue which is unique in that it impacts every other issue. And that is that as a result of this disastrous Supreme Court decision, the United States campaign finance system has become corrupt and American democracy is being undermined.
Yes.
Today in America, most of the campaigns, most of the candidates are receiving more support from super PACs funded by millionaires and billionaires than they are from their own fundraising efforts. You know, the people of Iowa think they have the first caucus in the country. They're wrong. The first caucus was held here in Nevada several months ago by Sheldon Adelson. What Adelson did is invite a number of Republicans to tell him what they will do for him. And if they say the right words, they will get tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign contributions. The Koch brothers and a few of their friends, multi-billionaires, are prepared to spend $900 million on this campaign. Brothers and sisters, this is not democracy, this is oligarchy, and we are not going to allow that. We are going to do. What we are going to do is to make it very clear that any